Let's begin with the most important idea: hearing the power of small, consistent changes. We often think that transformation requires monumental action. We imagine drastic shifts in behavior, extreme efforts, or a sudden, overwhelming burst of motivation. But let's step back for a moment and consider the opposite. What if the real secret to changing your life is not doing something massive, but making small, steady, and consistent adjustments every single day? In fact, it's these very small shifts that, over time, will produce results far greater than any grand gesture you might think of. When we look at successful people, or even people who seem to have their lives together, what we often fail to see are the little habits and behaviors they've cultivated over time. Habits that, while they seem insignificant in the moment, form the foundation of who they are and what they've achieved. A great deal of success is not about waking up one day and deciding to revolutionize everything. It's about choosing to make small decisions every day that align with who we want to be. Small habits, repeated consistently, compound and build over time. Think of it like planting a seed. In the beginning, it's tiny, barely noticeable. But with consistent care, a bit of water, some sunlight, and time, it begins to sprout. Then, before you know it, the roots go deep and the branches stretch toward the sky. That's the power of small habits. They don't have to be monumental to be life-changing. They simply need to be consistent, and they need to be aligned with a vision of the person you wish to become. In psychology, this principle is often referred to as the power of compounding. That same principle that makes investments grow over time, or that causes the small choices you make every day to shape your future self. Imagine that every decision you make, no matter how small, is like a little deposit into your bank of personal growth. Over time, these deposits accumulate. What starts as a tiny habit can, through repetition, become something monumental, something that defines you and transforms your life. This is where the magic of the 21-day plan comes in. You might be wondering, why 21 days? Why not 10 or for some other arbitrary number? Well, research suggests that 21 days is often the sweet spot for building new habits. In the first week, there's excitement, a burst of motivation. By the second week, the novelty begins to wear off, and that's when the real change starts. But it's not until about day 21 that you reach a critical point where the new behavior becomes embedded in your psyche, no longer requiring the conscious effort it took in the beginning. Your brain starts to rewire itself, and the new behavior shifts from something you have to force yourself to do, to something you simply do, because it's now a part of you. But why are small changes so much more effective than trying to overhaul everything at once? The answer is deeply rooted in both psychology and philosophy. Our brains are wired for survival, not for rapid change. And change, particularly big, sweeping changes, can be overwhelming. It disrupts our sense of stability. We can talk all day about the importance of stepping outside of our comfort zones, but the truth is, our minds resist discomfort. Small habits, however, don't trigger the same level of resistance. They are gentle, non-threatening. They slip into our lives almost unnoticed, and before long, they're embedded in the fabric of our daily routines. This approach also speaks to a deeper philosophical truth about the nature of human beings. Change is a process, not a single moment of revelation. We often romanticize the idea of a dramatic transformation, but the reality is that lasting change isn't an event, it's a journey. It's like a river carving out a canyon. Not in one mighty rush, but over thousands of years, slowly, steadily, with patience and persistence. And that's where the beauty of small habits lies. They allow us to participate in this long-term process without feeling like we're biting off more than we can chew. Let's take an example. Suppose you wanted to improve your physical health. You could join a gym, hire a personal trainer, go on a strict diet, and completely change your life in a week. But that approach is often unsustainable because it's too drastic. Your mind and body haven't had the time to adjust. Instead, you could start by doing something simple, like taking a 10-minute walk every morning. At first, it might not seem like much, but within a week, that habit will start to feel natural. By the second week, you might find yourself enjoying it. And by the third week, it's no longer a new thing you're doing. It's simply part of your routine. Before you know it, that 10-minute walk becomes a foundation. And from that foundation, other habits, like eating healthier, exercising more, or getting better sleep, can naturally emerge. The point is, the small things matter. They are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of who we become. Small habits over time create an enormous ripple effect. You don't need to be a superhero or make heavy life changes to transform your world. You simply need to begin. Start small. Start today. And trust that these small, consistent changes will lead you exactly where you need to go. As you think about the habits you want to implement in your own life, remember this: it's not the monumental actions that create change. It's the small, consistent steps that do. Take action now, even if it's small. Start today. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. The life you want to live is just a habit away. When we talk about habits and the process of change, there's this concept floating around that's become something of a mything, the idea that it takes 21 days to form a habit. Now, I'm sure you've heard this phrase thrown around before, often in self-help books or motivational talks. But let's not let that number become just another piece of pop culture wisdom. Let's dig deeper into why the 21-day rule holds so much weight, and why, when it comes to changing your life, it's far more than just a number. To start with, let's get one thing straight. The idea that it takes 21 days to form a habit didn't come from some guru on a mountaintop. It originated from a plastic surgeon named Dr. Maxwell Maltz in the 1960s. He noticed that it took about 21 days for his patients to adjust to their new physical appearance after surgery. This observation was extended over time, and the number 21 got attached to the process of habit formation. But here's the thing, it's not just about the length of time. It's about how your brain responds to this new behavior. When you start something new, there's this initial phase of excitement, a sort of novelty effect. You're driven by the idea of change, you're motivated to act, and there's a rush of dopamine that comes with the anticipation of doing something different. In the first few days, you'll feel the shift. It's fresh, it's new, and maybe even exhilarating. But by the second week, things start to level off. The honeymoon period ends, the novelty fades, your brain, cunning little thing that it is, tries to pull you back to the comfort zone. It's this moment, around day 10 or so, when most people give up. They've lost the initial thrill, and they forget why they started in the first place. Here's where the real magic begins. In those following days, from day 11 to day 21, something incredible starts to happen. The new habit isn't a flash in the pan anymore, it begins to feel like it's part of you. Your brain starts to form new neural connections, literally rewiring itself to accommodate this new behavior. That's the neurological aspect of habit formation. The more you repeat the action, the more those neural pathways strengthen. It's like creating a new groove in your mind, a new default setting. And that's where the 21-day mark comes in. By the time you hit day 21, your brain has started to integrate the habit into your daily routine, no longer as something you have to consciously work at, but as something that feels natural, like breathing. This process has everything to do with something called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. You might not realize it, but every time you repeat an action, your brain rewires itself to make that action easier. Initially, when you're trying to establish a new habit, your brain fights it, because it's outside the realm of your regular pattern. It feels unnatural, clunky, like wearing shoes that don't quite fit. But over the course of 21 days, your brain adapts. Those shoes start to feel more comfortable, and soon, they're the only pair you reach for. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This idea of forming a habit in 21 days is not just about ticking off a number on the calendar. It's about trusting the process. Philosophically, this is where the real breakthrough occurs. We live in a world of instant gratification. We want everything now. But true transformation isn't about quick fixes. It's about steady, incremental change. And when you commit to a new habit, you're participating in a much larger philosophical act of self-discipline and self-trust. You're saying, I'm willing to put in the effort, even when I don't see immediate results. I trust that this process will work, that this action, however small, will lead to a better version of me. This is why the 21 days matter. It's not about some arbitrary number, but about allowing yourself the time to develop that trust, to allow the habit to take root in your brain and your life. It's about showing up, even when you're tired, even when you're tempted to give up. Because in those moments, the habit you're creating is not just about the action itself. It's about the discipline, the consistency, and the belief that change is possible. And this is where we need to have a conversation about persistence and patience. You see, the brain doesn't always give us immediate rewards. It's not always going to send a rush of dopamine to pat us on the back for every step we take. Sometimes progress feels invisible, but what's happening underneath the surface is real, powerful, and essential. Your brain is building the foundation for a new you, even when you can't see it. Every time you show up for that habit, you're reinforcing your commitment to change, and that act of showing up builds your character. You become a person who follows through, who builds trust in themselves. So don't get discouraged if it feels hard at first. Don't give up after a few days. The process is never linear. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes you'll feel like you're failing, but that's exactly where growth happens. The 21 days aren't a magic spell. They're a reflection of your ability to persist, to trust in the small steps, even when the end result seems distant. By the time you reach day 21, you won't just have a new habit. You'll have a deeper understanding of what it means to be committed to your own evolution. So, trust in this process. Trust in yourself, because the real work begins when you're willing to show up every day, day after day, until that habit becomes you. Keep going. The change you're looking for is already unfolding. The 21-day mark isn't the end, it's just the beginning of a deeper relationship with yourself. Keep going. The work is worth it. Now, let's talk about the 6 habits you should be thinking about implementing into your daily life. We've already discussed the power of small, consistent changes and the science behind why 21 days can make those changes stick. But now, it's time to take a closer look at what habits really move the needle. These are the ones that can transform not just your day-to-day, but the trajectory of your entire life. And the beauty is, none of them are earth-shattering. You don't have to upend your world to get results. These 6 habits, simple as they may seem, can completely alter the way you live, think, and engage with the world. The first one is often the hardest, but it's also the most crucial exercise. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, not the dreaded workout advice, let me tell you something. This isn't just about getting ripped or fitting into a pair of jeans that are 3 sizes too small. No, this is about activating your mind, your body, and your spirit. Exercise doesn't just help your physical health, it has a profound impact on your mental well-being. You don't have to run a marathon or lift weights until you can't feel your arms. No, it's about doing something, anything, that gets your heart rate up. A 10-minute walk in the morning, a few stretches, a short yoga session. These small bursts of movement help to flood your body with dopamine, serotonin and endorphins, the happiness hormones. They clear your mind, reduce stress, and make you more focused and productive. Don't buy into the idea that you need an hour at the gym to qualify as exercising. This isn't about conforming to some fitness ideal. It's about creating a routine where movement becomes a part of your day. What you're doing, more than anything, is training your brain to show up. Even if you only have 5 or 10 minutes to spare, that's enough. It's the act of doing, not the length of time or the intensity of the effort. Exercise is the key to unlocking mental clarity, reducing anxiety, and fundamentally shifting how you approach the world. The second habit, equally important, is journaling. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who has time to write all their thoughts down? Well, let me tell you, this isn't about writing the next great novel. This is about creating a space to reflect, to release the mental clutter, and to document your journey. Journaling is an act of introspection. It forces you to slow down, pay attention to your thoughts, and process your emotions in a healthy, constructive way. It's about taking the noise inside your head and putting it on paper, where it's easier to make sense of. And here's the kicker: when you journal consistently, you begin to notice patterns in your thinking. You begin to understand yourself better, why you do what you do, why you feel the way you feel. And that awareness is power. By writing things down, by making them tangible, making them real, you're also creating a record of progress. You might not see the change right away, but when you look back on a week or a month of journaling, you'll be amazed at the shifts you've gone through. It's like having a personal time capsule where you can track your evolution. Next on the list is mindfulness. It's such a simple concept, yet it's so often overlooked. We live in a world that's constantly rushing, constantly demanding our attention, pulling us in 1,000 different directions. And in the middle of all this noise, we forget to be. Mindfulness is nothing more than cultivating the ability to be present, to focus on the now, rather than the past or the future. It's about acknowledging the moment, whether that's in a conversation, while you're eating, or when you're walking down the street. It's about becoming aware of your surroundings, your breath, your body. This habit, though deceptively simple, has a profound impact on your mental and emotional health. When you practice mindfulness, you reduce stress and anxiety. You train your mind to stop living in constant anticipation or regret. Instead, you learn to exist fully in the present, where true peace lies. And mindfulness doesn't have to be a formal practice like meditation, though that's a great option if you're interested. You can incorporate mindfulness into your daily activities. Every time you take a breath, every time you pause for a moment of clarity, you're practicing mindfulness. It's as much about consistency as it is about being in the moment. Now, let's talk about sleep. Yes, sleep. We often neglect it in our quest for productivity, thinking that the more hours we spend awake, the more we can accomplish. But the truth is, nothing is more counterproductive than depriving yourself of proper rest. When we sleep, our bodies repair themselves, our minds process the events of the day, and we replenish the energy needed to tackle tomorrow. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Prioritizing sleep means setting boundaries. It means shutting off the distractions, like social media or late-night work emails, and allowing your body the time it needs to recharge. The 7 to 9 hours of sleep most adults need isn't a suggestion. It's a fundamental part of your well-being. Without it, your mind and body simply can't function at their best. It's during sleep that creativity is unlocked, memories are consolidated, and emotional balance is restored. So, get some sleep. Treat it like the powerful tool it is. Fifth, we have the practice of gratitude. It sounds almost too simple to be effective, but bear with me. A gratitude isn't just about saying thank you or recognizing the good in your life. It's about shifting your perspective. When you take time each day to acknowledge what you're grateful for, it fundamentally changes the way you view the world. It refocuses your attention from scarcity to abundance, from problems to solutions. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good exercise. It's a mental training technique that rewires your brain for positivity. Lastly, healthy eating. Now, I'm not talking about dieting or obsessing over calories. I'm talking about nourishing your body with whole, real foods that give you energy, clarity, and vitality. What you put into your body has a direct impact on your mood, your energy levels, and even your cognitive abilities. So start small, drink more water and vegetables to your meals. Cut back on processed sugars and junk food. When you fuel your body with good, whole foods, it's like upgrading the engine of your life. These 6 habits, exercise, journaling, mindfulness, sleep, gratitude, and healthy eating, are the building blocks of a life well lived. They don't need to be overwhelming or complicated. They don't require dramatic shifts. They just need to be consistent. Start with one, then add another. And over time, you'll find that these habits do what they were always meant to do: transform your life. Change is not about huge leaps. It's about these small, consistent steps that, over time, lead to something extraordinary. You have the power to shape your life with these simple actions. So, choose one habit, commit to it, let it become part of you, and watch as the rest of your life begins to follow suit. We've already covered the importance of small, consistent changes, the science behind the 21-day habit formation process, and the 6 life-altering habits you can start today. But here's the truth: it's not always going to be easy. In fact, you will face resistance. You will hit moments when the momentum fades, and those days will come when you want to quit. So, let's talk about what happens when it feels hard. Let's talk about overcoming challenges and staying committed beyond the 21 days, because that's where the real work happens. Here's something no one tells you about habits: the first 21 days are the honeymoon phase. The brain is adapting, it's excited about the newness, and you're getting small rewards for your efforts. But then the honeymoon ends. You hit a wall. You're tired. You're distracted. Life gets in the way. It's those moments, when the initial enthusiasm starts to wane, when your old habits try to creep back in, that the real challenge begins. This is the moment when most people give up. This is where it gets tricky. But here's where you have to make a choice. There's a term in psychology called cognitive dissonance. It refers to the uncomfortable tension that arises when your beliefs and actions are in conflict. So, let's say you've decided to adopt the habit of exercising every morning. But one day, you wake up, you're tired, the weather's bad, and your mind starts whispering, "Just skip today. You've been good so far. You deserve a break." In that moment, your mind is trying to justify the dissonance between what you said you'd do and what you're about to do. The thing is, this tension isn't something to avoid. It's a signal. It's your inner self trying to fight against the old patterns. And this is where the magic happens. The key isn't in avoiding the dissonance, but in leaning into it. When you push through the discomfort, when you make the decision to show up even when you don't feel like it, you begin to change on a deeper level. It's no longer about the action itself, it's about your identity. The real shift happens when you stop seeing yourself as someone who tries to do things, and instead, you start seeing yourself as someone who does. You shift from the story of someone who has to fight to get things done to the story of someone who effortlessly follows through, because that's who you've become. But let's not sugarcoat it. This part is hard. It's easy to start something new when you're excited. It's easy to commit when you're motivated. But motivation is fleeting. It's reliable. It comes and goes like a wave. That's why you can't rely on motivation alone. What you need is discipline. And here's the paradox: discipline isn't about brute force or willpower. It's about consistency, and consistency comes from small actions repeated over time. It's not about gritting your teeth and forcing yourself through. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. The discipline isn't just in the doing, it's in the not quitting. This is where the idea of having a backup plan comes in. Life will throw you curveballs. You'll get sick. You'll have stressful days at work. Your social life will demand attention. But instead of throwing your hands up and saying, "Well, I missed today, I'll just quit," you need a strategy. You need a fallback, a way to keep moving forward even when life gets in the way. That's the power of planning for imperfection. So, if you can't do your full morning workout, do 5 minutes. If you can't write in your journal for an hour, write for 10 minutes. The key is not in perfection, but in presence. As long as you keep the habit live, you're still in the game. It's also crucial to realize that setbacks are a part of the journey. People often think of failure as a destination, but in reality, failure is just a stop on the path to success. A missed day, a setback, a mistake, They're not signs that you should quit. They're just moments of learning. We often expect change to be linear, that if we just follow the steps, it'll all magically fall into place. But change isn't linear. It's messy. It's full of twists and turns. The challenge is to embrace those moments of imperfection, to accept that the journey won't always be smooth. But that doesn't mean you're not making progress. Here's something else: accountability is a secret weapon. When you're doing something by yourself, it's easy to let things slide. But when you have someone else to answer to, whether it's a friend, a coach, or even just someone who knows about your goals, suddenly you've got an extra layer of commitment. It's no longer just about you. It's about us. Accountability keeps you tethered to the process, even when you want to float away. It's the gentle nudge that reminds you of why you started in the first place. So, as you continue this journey of building habits and making lasting changes, remember that resistance is normal. The road is going to get bumpy. You'll face moments when it feels easier to quit than to continue. But in those moments, remember this: the work is never wasted. Every small effort, every day you choose to show up, even when it's hard, is building into the person you want to become. Progress is made in those moments when you feel like giving up but push through anyway. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. You are going to hit walls. You are going to face days when you don't feel like moving forward. But here's the thing: just because it feels hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. In fact, that's the moment you're doing it right. Keep going. Keep showing up. The habits you build now will lay the foundation for a future you can't even yet imagine. So, when you face those moments of doubt, just remind yourself this is the path. This is where the change happens. Stay in the game, and the results will follow.